Today at the Miskatonic University, we will relate to you a story told to us by a longtime friend and patron of the university, one of the greatest performers and escape artists to have ever lived, Harry Houdini, and his harrowing trip through the great antiquity of ancient Egypt. In the year 1910, Houdini traveled to Egypt with his wife and performed his famous buried alive trick for a large crowd, as well as a few other illusions and tricks. The day after his performance, he enlisted the services of a mysterious guide named Abdul Rais El Drogman. Houdini was taken on a grand tour of Cairo, and by the end of a long day of sightseeing, Drogman and a Bedouin leader by the name of Ali Ziz began an argument in Arabic. Eventually, the argument turned to a fistfight, and Houdini was forced to break up the conflict. Drogman enlisted Houdini to help him settle the fight by way of what he called a custom of great antiquity in Cairo. It was basically a boxing match atop the Great Pyramid of Giza. Houdini soon discovered, however, that the entire dispute was merely a ruse designed to lure him into the desert at night and kidnap him. They found his Western ways to be decadent and sinful, and like many spiritualists, believed his illusions could only be possible by the use of true magic. They bound him with thick ropes and took him to some location he was not able to track. They then dropped him down a pit, seemingly deeper than he could fathom. As he fell, he was thrashed against the walls and lost consciousness. After dreaming of spectral horrors, Houdini awoke at the bottom of the pit, and eventually, with a mangled but ultimately unbroken body, managed to free himself from the ropes. Suspecting that he was somewhere in a temple underneath the Great Sphinx, he traveled through the dark in an attempt to find an exit, following what he believed to be a draft from outdoors. Instead, he discovered that he had actually been heading further underground, eventually falling down a flight of stairs and landing in a large ceremonial cavern. It was there that he witnessed an army of half-man, half-animal mummies led by the ancient Egyptian pharaoh Khephren, who oddly resembled his guide Drogman, and Pharaoh Nitocris, leaving offerings to a hippopotamus-sized, five-headed tentacled beast that appeared from a hole deep in the hall. However, as Houdini escaped, he realized that this creature was merely the paw of a much larger deity as it climbed out of the hole. Houdini believed this creature was the same whose image the original Sphinx was carved. He eventually escaped, crawling out of a cavern onto the golden sands of Giza, directly in front of the Great Sphinx. Houdini, throughout his entire life, had always been hopeful but skeptical of supernatural events and beings, as well as denying having any true magical abilities. So he dismissed these events as hallucination or a dream, consequent of the thrashing he took from the fall in the pit after his kidnapping. However, he still felt it pertinent to reiterate these events to his companions here at the university. We here at Miskatonic have created a file on the odd and unusual events experienced by the students, patrons, and friends of the university. However, the events experienced and told to us by Houdini, if not fabricated by his deteriorated mind state at the time, may have connections to a few cases still under investigation by our Mari division, and soon we may be able to expand on his time imprisoned with the Pharaohs.